All right, Lucho, I am super excited to talk about your Praxis story today. I know you have a really interesting one. You made a big jump from where you were before Praxis to where you are today. Would you mind by kicking us off with the 1 to 2 minute version of what your story is?
Yeah, absolutely. So, prior to the program, I was still in sales. I was still getting started in the business world. But I think the biggest disconnect was a lack of opportunity. So that's kind of what really drew me into Praxis, having the business partnership, having the network of people in Praxis help you out along the way. Because whenever you embark in any type of journey, you always need people to help you out. So even though I was in real estate, even though I was working at a call center and got my experience, I was I feel like I was lacking the network of people to help me. So once I got in the program, I feel like I truly grew just because I had the people guiding me, knowing, hey, this is typical mistakes that we notice for beginner SDRs, etc. So having that guidance really I think that's what really helped me grow.
So you had prior experience in sales before starting the program. What was it when you first found Praxis that made you feel it was the right decision for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like it goes back to the support system, honestly. I don't want to sound redundant, but like in business, there's obviously egos. I was in real estate. Everyone's always looking out for themselves. And it was a very selfish environment. And although, okay, you could build your wealth that way too. But one thing that really stuck out to me is even if I had a problem at any point during my apprenticeship, I could reach out to Mitchell. I could reach out to Hannah. I could reach out to yourself. The list can go on and on. There's a Slack community. There's a Monday call every week. Like those little details, the devil's in the detail. Those little details are what really, I don't know, like that's what really stuck out to me. So that was a really good question though.
So support and community were huge for you, and that's what you felt were lacking from your career previously. Once you got into the program, what were some of the other things that stuck out to you that you felt like you didn't have access to in your early career without the program?
Yeah, so I guess opportunity, because the business partnerships that Praxis has, these are obviously high growth startups and the companies are in good hands. We're in COVID right now, but the company I'm apprenticing at, they managed to get like $35 million in funding, just all these opportunities for growth. Prior to Praxis, you could find a job at Coca-Cola, let's say, but because it's not a startup, you're kind of stuck in the same position. You're doing the same work over and over again, and there's no real room for growth or opportunities. So I really like the business partnerships that Praxis has. I think that's what stood out to me.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So let's backtrack a little bit. Before Praxis, how were you able to kind of make your way on your own into the sales world and where you were working in real estate?
Yeah, so how I got started, I was in college. I had like 33 credits. I was supposed to be an accountant, apparently, according to my major. I walked into calc class, absolutely miserable, dropped out, went to a bunch of real estate networking events. Um, I just spoke to a bunch of people, and then the person who held the meetings, he actually was an investor himself. So I'm like, listen, bro. And this time I'm like super introverted. I'm not really good at communicating. I'm like still trying to figure everything out. I'm like, listen, I don't know anything about sales. I read a book. I need to learn sales to be good in business. Like, I'll work for free. Like, can I please work for you? Like, help me out. He's like, all right, whatever. He didn't pay me. I was just doing door-to-door sales. So that's kind of how I got started. I just go up to these houses and be like, listen, I know you're going through tax foreclosure. I want to help you. I'm not here to like evict you. Like, I want to give you cash for your property. And then the rest is, after that, it was a wrap. I've just kept growing in my career. So whether it's B2B sales, whether it's call center, I've just, that's where it started though.
So you were able to take that like initial sales experience from knowing nothing at all, begging someone to basically mentor you, and then you kind of use that once in addition to what you learned from the program.
Exactly. Yep.
And so at what point, working in door-to-door sales, did you come across Praxis? How did you find us? And then what was it that made you sit one night and say like, okay, I'm going to apply to this program?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I left I left my previous mentor. I ended up selling cars for a little. Absolutely terrible environment. Everyone's out for themselves. Like you really see the ego come out. Everyone's like hunting for themselves. I hate that stuff. So I'm like, dude, like I'm making good money. Like I'm close, like I'm miserable. I'm working 80 hours a week. Everyone hates each other. Left that job. Ended up working for like $12 an hour at a call center. And then that's when I was like, dude, I gotta I gotta get my life together. Like, what am I doing? And I took that job because that's what really allowed me to like master communication. But like I don't want to work at a call center the rest of my life. So at that point, I'm like, I really need to level up. Do I go to college? Do I get my real estate license? Do I do Praxis? And I just looked at alternate education programs. And that's how I really I was like, oh shoot, like I'm gonna give this a try, you know? I really, they really stuck out to me.
Yeah, so compared to a lot of other participants that I would say come through the program, you weren't really that green. Like you had a good foundation of skills to already work from. Being in the community and seeing other participants also go through the program at the same time, what were some differences that you noticed between yourself and others?
Definitely the experience, number one. I could definitely relate to some of the younger kids because I had the same drive. I was not really experienced in sales. So when it kind of like reminded me of my previous, but because there's so many different levels, like all walks of life are coming in this program. So that's one difference I noticed. But another difference I noticed, for example, is let's say an advisor who did the program previously, who's now a senior VP at a startup or at a different company. So it's just like, it really like puts into perspective where you are and then where you could be if you just put the work in. So that's kind of what I noticed.
Awesome. Okay, so let's talk about your boot camp experience a little bit. You came in with a great foundation of skills and knowledge already. Did you already have an idea of where you wanted to go? Were you all in on sales when you first started the program, or were you open to other opportunities as well?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I was definitely like 100% set on sales. At that point though, I didn't know the company. Like I didn't know where I wanted to go. I was stuck on Florida. I'm like, dude, I want to go to Florida. Like, I don't care what company it is. I'll make it work. Like, this is just my child ego coming out. But yeah, I mean, I definitely had my eyes on sales though. I didn't really want another role.
And what were some of the things that, going through the program, although you already had this previous sales experience, you ended up filling in those gaps in knowledge through the program? Like at the beginning, you mentioned there were a lot of things you learned about common mistakes that, entry-level SDRs make. How did you learn that in the program, and what did that look like for you?
I mean, sales, like it's different in every industry, right? So like for example, in my apprenticeship, things I wasn't aware of, I had no idea what a sales cadence is because that's not something I was really exposed to. Like building out sales cadences, learning B2B sales is way different than consumers. I was dealing with real estate, people owning homes and people buying cars. Now I'm dealing with a CEO and a CFO who needs to buy a software. So, little things like that when it comes to the industry. I guess that was the biggest gap in my knowledge is how do I not talk to a 50-year-old homeowner and how do I talk to a CFO who is concerned about the numbers? Does that answer the question?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a really good point to bring up. There are different industries and you have to speak and communicate with people in different ways. Back to the community aspect of the program, was there anybody that you kind of like buddied up with and felt was on the same sales track, or did you find value in engaging with people who were kind of on different tracks and looking to go in different directions with their career?
Yeah. So when I first started out, was Jared. Yeah, Jared. So I was pretty close with Jared when I first started through the boot camp. And then I got closer once I got my apprenticeship. I was able to, I landed the opportunity with somebody else. We onboarded at the same time. So I kind of just grew close with them. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I would say those are two instances where I partnered up with someone when I first started, because I kind of felt alone. I'm like, dude, what do I do? And then once I landed my role, obviously we're growing together. We're at the same company. So I definitely stuck to someone though, because you're obviously in new environments, it's human nature to look for familiarity.
Absolutely. What did you find to be the most difficult part of the boot camp and then the most rewarding?
The most difficult, probably, probably writing every day because I was never a writer. But at the same time, it was the most rewarding because I used it as a way to launch my Medium account. I'm still trying to build my audience. Learning how to brand myself, learning how to communicate written is very different than oral or any other way. So I don't know. It was a blessing in disguise, I guess, you know?
Yeah, for sure. If there was any part of the boot camp that you wish somebody who was in similar shoes to you at the start of your experience with the program, what part of the boot camp would you recommend to them to do in their personal life?
In their personal life, probably the crash job hunting all the way at the end. Because that's like, dude, whenever you're ready for the job market, if you could learn how to pitch yourself like that, like that's what stuck out to me. I was like, holy crap, like this is way different than whatever they were teaching us in high school or our whole, like having a resume. Like scratch that, like learn how to do that, you'll be set for life, you know?
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about your placement experience a little bit. How long were you in placement, and what was the biggest shock for you stepping into placement and kind of learning, I guess, the Praxis methodology of, going after companies and opportunities?
Yeah, so for me, I mean, I was in placement relatively short, maybe 2-3 weeks. And then I guess the biggest thing, I mean, it's way different than the traditional way of looking for a job. So you're taught to fix your resume, key points, this, that. But the biggest thing for me was changing it to like a value creation mindset. So just show the company that you could create this value for them. Like, that's like, holy crap. Like, I don't know. Like, that was like something that took a while for me to really grasp, is understanding how to transition that mindset. But once you do it, it's, I don't know, like I'm a different person, you know, it's crazy.
Yeah. On that note, what would you say is the biggest difference between, who you were when you started the program versus who you are today?
Yeah, I mean, like before I started the program, I was a mess. I knew I wanted to do sales and business, but like I didn't accept the fact that I have to transform as a person to reach the level that I want to. Like, all right, whatever. Like, you can't have the same habits, stupid habits you have. You can't be the person that you were. So the boot camp really opened my eyes. Like, if you really want to become the person you want to become, you have to change who you are, because success is something you attract by the person you become. So you can't, like, you have to change all your habits, everything about yourself. No more resume, value creation, no more college. Like, this is how you do it. Brand yourself, create a website, etc. You know? So it's like, damn, I don't know. I'm a way different person now.
I love that. What are some of the specific changes that you've noticed in yourself, or things that you like intentionally kind of had to change and step into to get to where you are right now?
Definitely my habits. So what I do every day. That's probably the biggest difference. Like, I wake up, I don't know, like I write my blog post every day when I wake up. Like, I make sure I'm continuously documenting my work, like little things like that. It's like, it's just a big difference when you look back 6 to 8 months from now.
And what were you like previously? Like what did your habit and day-to-day look like?
Oh, it was a mess. I would do, like, I just wake up and like do whatever I want. Like no direction. I'm like living in fantasy world. Like, I'm going to be successful, but it's going to happen one day. Like, no. Like, you have to work for it type of mentality. So it's, I don't know. I'm a way different person.
That's awesome. Okay, so let's talk about where you are today. What is the opportunity that you landed through Praxis, and are you still with that opportunity? And if you are, how's it going?
Right. So right now I'm an SDR at X Plenty. So they're a Xenon portfolio company. They basically, they have a bunch of software as a service companies, and they look to grow them. So I do still have the opportunity. I got a full-time offer with them about 3 months ago, which is awesome. Obviously, during these uncertain times, I was blessed to get a full-time, like, you know, I'm very grateful for something like that. And it all starts at the Prax, like even doing the program. So I'm super grateful for that. And then, yeah.
Awesome. What was it like when you started with them? Were you intimidated, nervous? Did you just feel super amped up and ready to step in?
Yeah, I mean, it's like mixed emotions, a little bit of everything, because when I first started, I'm still the person who I was, but yet I landed this awesome opportunity, and it's a startup, and everything's a mess, and, you know, startup vibes, you got to kind of just put the work in, and, you know, there's no real system. You're building the system. So just a mix of emotions, but I don't regret it one bit.
Yeah. What was the adjustment period like for you? Like, how quickly did you get to the point where you felt comfortable being able to just take ownership of projects, take the lead on things?
I'd say about 3 months.
3 months. And prior to that, what was kind of your go-to when you had questions? Were you good about asking questions? Did you kind of clam up and try to figure things out on your own?
Yeah, probably the latter. I mean, my ego come out. I'm like, yo, I don't want anybody's help. Like, I'll figure it out. You know what I mean? So obviously, as time progressed, I opened up a little more, but that's probably my biggest weakness. Like, I'm too independent. Like, I want to figure it out myself.
How did Praxis help prepare you for your apprenticeship and stepping into a new role like that?
I guess I guess it goes down to the idea of value creation. So just create as much value as you can, and doors will naturally open up. You'll naturally progress in your career or whatever the case is. And you don't have the answer to everything, so you could ask people for help. It's normal.
Yeah, absolutely. What advice would you give to participants that are about to start their, new jobs or apprenticeships or opportunities landed through Praxis in the next month?
Yeah, so I mean, the biggest advice I'd give them is probably like, where do you see yourself in 6 months? Because that's ultimately going to drive your habits, what value you want to create, who you want to become, etc. So prior to starting like, I wish I did this, like, where do I see myself? Because it's only been 6 months and I'm a completely different person. So if I could look back, I would have written down who I wanted to be when I started my role.
That's awesome. So you're 6 months in. What are your plans for the next year? Do you have any specific plans for your career, where you plan to take your role with Xplenty?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have plans. I mean, I kind of look at life as like health, wealth, friendship, love, and then career, whatever. And then you just kind of break everything down into there. So, I mean, I have a pretty detailed plan for all of that. But I mean, Xplenty is definitely in the picture. It's a high growth startup. I'm I'm growing a lot in that field and in my career. So, nothing happens overnight. So I got like a 3-4 year plan of, where I want to be.
For sure, for sure. What are some of the top skills that you're super, happy that you've been able to learn through your role with them?
Probably, like, I had a lot of soft skills prior, but I didn't really have any, like, no leadership aptitude. I didn't really know how to lead anything. So I think that's a huge, because they kind of just give you a project and they're like, yo, like, figure it out. Like, I like that kind of stuff because you have to figure it out. There's no like, oh, I might. So the top 3 skills I'd say is leadership, sales cadences. I know it's really specific, but building out sales cadences, and then probably tracking KPIs and things of that nature.
Do you think like a year ago you would have ever doubted your ability to be able to learn how to do those things?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And what would you say now is like the difference that allowed you to kind of step up and be like, okay, I have this project, I need to just figure it out and do it?
Probably the core value of value creation. So it just stems down, like, when the crap hits the fan, like, listen, how can you provide value for this? How can you provide value to this and serve this person to the best of your ability?
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. One more question I want to ask you about, your Praxis experience is, what advice would you give to somebody who was in your situation, before you started the program? What would be your words of wisdom to them right now?
My words of wisdom, probably figure out what you want to do, have a vision for your life, cultivate that vision, and then execute it through actionable steps. Because that's something I was lacking in before. So that's, if I knew that a year ago, I'd probably be a different person.
That's excellent advice, and I'm sure that you plan on using it all through the rest of your role with Xplenty and far into your career. Loucho, thank you so much for sharing your story today. It's been a great one, and I can't wait to see where else you go.